Hello and welcome to this video where we'll go into MongoDB. NoSQL or not only SQL, since MongoDB actually has SQL as well. So in this video, we'll go into working with NoSQL, or if we're working in MongoDB, then more accurately, it's actually a document database. So we'll work with JSON data. And in this video, we'll work with it locally so that we will need the Docker and Docker Compose. So you will get a Docker Compose file and Docker Compose YAML, which you can use for spinning up two different containers. So one for MongoDB and one for mongo-express. And mongo-express is used for the user interface so that you can actually see what happens in that the data comes in, etc. And also we will connect this with Python so that you'll be working with Python to ingest data. So we'll take data from a JSON file. And the thing we want to try to model here is a LinkedIn profile. So that we'll look into a LinkedIn profile. And as you'll see in the LinkedIn profile, it's much easier to represent it using document database with MongoDB than to use relational database, which will require you to divide it into several tables and joining them together. While it's a semi-structured data into a document database such as MongoDB, it's much simpler because it's more flexible. So you will see that in action soon. So we'll move directly to Visual Studio Code. So I'm here in Visual Studio Code, and let's create a new terminal here. And let's do codes. What do I want? I want to have docker compose.yaml. Save this one. So we have docker compose.yaml, and here I won't type all the YAML code out. Instead, I'll copy from my lecture notes. So you can get this from my repo, and the repo will be in the link description so that you also can get it. So we have two services. One that is MongoDB. It is in the ports 27017 and 27017. It's mapping these ports. So basically here, we pick the Mongo, the image from Docker Hub, and then we just call it the container name MongoDB. And here we have environments, and that is the username and the password. So you see that these are from variables. So the idea is that I'll put this into a .env file. So here, let's create a code, .env here. And in this .env file, you have these two. Mongo user and Mongo password. So Mongo user, Mongo password. So these two, you have to choose which user you have and which password you have. So for me, I'll just pick admin. And for the password, I will pause the video and I will pick it, but you should pick something for you. Okay, so now I've picked my .env. And I've picked the password and I've picked the username, right? And the username, as I said, I picked it as admin. So here in Docker Compose, you can see that we use the user and the password here. And then in mongo-express, you can see that we use the image mongo-express, call it mongo-express. And here we have environment as well. So we have username and password, and then we have which server it is. So it's the MongoDB. So you refer to this one. So this container name here. And then you have the admin, the user for authenticating to the database. So let's try this out. Docker compose up-d. Okay. Docker PS. And you can see that they are running. So we have MongoDB and mongo-express. So first time for you, it may take a little bit longer time because you may need to download the images, but that is totally fine. So let's see, we have mongo-express in 8081. So let's try to check that out. So here in the browser, we can do localhost 8081. And you can see we get into this prompt page and what do we need to insert? Add then is the username. So this is admin. And for passwords, actually just pass. So then you're inside. Okay, and in this mongo-express, you can see these are the databases that are there by default. So we could create a new database. We just call it a name. We can say testing a new or testing. So here we create the database, and you can see this is the testing. We can view this database, and inside of this database there is here collections. So basically what you can see is that, okay, in MongoDB we have a database, and inside of database we have several collections. You can see a collection as a table, basically, if you're used to relational databases. So here, create collection, we need to give it a name. So for example, we could call it test collection, and we create this collection, and you can see that, let's see. So here in this breadcrumb here, let's see, testing, view, and you can see delete me. This is just a default one. So we can just delete this one. We'll call it, copy this one, paste it here, delete me, yes. And here you have this collection called test collection. And when we click in here, we see that we don't have anything yet, but you can add new document. Okay, so how is the structure? We have database. Inside of databases, we have several collections, which are similar to tables, right? And then we have the data should come in. Here is the semi-structured data. So now you put in key and values. So that is basically what document is. So key and values. So we can call it like key 1, value 1. And then we can save this one. And here you can see this is the data here. And if you want to add another one, new document, we can call it let's see, test or key 2, value val2. Okay, and then we have added another one. You can see the key or key and value. And clicking it in, you can see the document. And here you get an object ID by default, and this is the one that makes us identify this record here. Okay, so this is just some basics with mongo-express. What you could do when you're working with MongoDB, you could use the cloud version, which gives some free storage, but I've wanted to show you how to do this locally, and using mongo-express to view it. And we also have the MongoDB database, MongoDB container, which you can go into. So going back to Visual Studio Code, you could, if you want to explore the MongoDB container, you could do like this: docker exec-it mongodb bash. And now I'm inside of the container. So here, print working directory ls, and you can see that we have a data folder. So cd data ls, and you can see cd db ls, and this is the things that are stored in our database. And you can also see that if we do print working directories, it's /data/db. And if you are noticing here, you can see that we are doing a named volume, Mongo data to /data/db. So basically this part here are stored inside of a volume, a named volume in our local machine, right? And that one, I call it Mongo data. So this is the volume. So if we do docker, let me jump, or I don't want to jump out of here yet. So here you can actually, if you learn more about MongoDB, then you will have something called mongo-sh, and this is the Mongo shell. So now I'm inside of the MongoDB. You can see it's connected to this one, and here you can do a lot of things. You can insert data, you can check out the data and other things. But I won't go into the Mongo shell here, and this is saved for another video. Instead, this is just an introduction one, and also we connect to Python. So that is the more important part here. So I'll jump out, Control D, and I will also want to check. Yeah, I want to show you that docker volume ls. So here you can see this folder is called mongodb, right? So you can see it's mongodb _mongo data. So this is the volume, and it's stored somewhere that Docker manages. So that is the volume. Okay? And now, enough with Docker and enough with mongo-express. Let's try to connect it. So first, let's do like this. We will go into the browser. We'll go into LinkedIn. So this is my profile. I will go into myself here. So this is me. And inside here, you can see that, okay, so for my profile, I have several things. I have my experiences. So these are the experiences that I have. I have education, I have skills, etc. So if you want to represent this with tables in relational database, maybe you should do this data modeling and test it out yourself. And you can see that there's a lot of tables that you need to represent this. And you need to have several joins for each user in order to get out all the information. However, when we're working with NoSQL, we can store it. It's basically JSON data. So we store it. We can have an experience key, and then we can have a list of these experiences. And inside of each experience, we could have start date, end date. We could have a description. So we have a lot of key values and key values inside of key values, basically. So nested dictionaries and arrays, if you're talking in Python language, or dictionary and lists. Okay, so remember, this is just a profile, and so the collection is called profile, and then you could have a collection that is called posts, etc., etc. Or you could have, there's a lot of things in the database that you can have to represent LinkedIn. Okay, so let's close this down and let's create from Python now, db.py. Okay. So here we need a library called pymongo. So let's create uv-ven source.ven bin activate uv pip install. Let's see what I want to install. pymongo. I want to have ipykernel because I will work with Jupyter Notebook a little bit. And I want to have python.env because I want to store secrets in .env, or I need to access the username and the password, basically. This should be it. Yeah. Actually, I do need pandas as well. I need pandas. Yes. Okay, that is enough. Great, that was fast. So let's start here. From pymongo, import mongo client. And of course, it's not here because you have to choose which environment you want here. So I choose .ven. Okay, pymongo, perfect. From .env, import load.env, import OS so that we can access it. Okay, so starting now, we want to load.env. Actually, I don't want to put it here. I want to put it into a function. Def get collection. Here I will have database and I will have collection. So the idea is that we want to use this one to create a database and a collection, basically. So here I will need to access some data. So user equals to os.getEnv, getEnv mongo user, it was called, right? And then we'll do similar here to do password, mongo password, like this. Okay, and we need to load the .env before. So if you want to know how I do this so fast, is I do Option key or Alt key and up and down button to move them. And to copy, you do Alt Shift down button, and then you copy it. And if I want to remove everything, I jump to the right, doing Command right click and then Command erase button. like this. So it seems to be magic, but it's not. It's just some hotkeys. Okay, so here, let's create a client now. So we need a client in order to connect to our MongoDB. So Mongo client, and Mongo client, it needs a host. And as we know, we are doing localhost, right? And note that now it's, as we are doing localhost, it's the connection is a little bit different from doing it in the cloud. If you're doing it in the Mongo Atlas in the cloud, then you have a connection string which you can copy into here, and which you can take out from the cloud. So localhost and the port, we know it's 27017, as we saw before in the Docker Compose YAML, right? Or if you've forgotten, you can do Docker PS, and you can see here is 27017. Okay, and then the port, and we have username. Username is basically user, or username is, yes, it is the user. And we have password is the password, right? Password, let's see, password equals password. And we have something called off source is equal to admin. So this is the one we have for the user to connect it, right? Okay, so you have this, and then you just do this. Database equals to client of the database. Okay? What does this mean? It means that the client is this connection to MongoDB, and when you access this database name, basically, actually I can call it the database name to be more explicit. So the database name, this will create a database if it doesn't exist. If it exists, it will just open up this database and assign it to this database variable. So if I do get collection LinkedIn, then I will get a LinkedIn database. So I will show you what this means soon. So collection equals to database collection, and then return the collection, basically. Okay, the idea is that I can put in, for example, LinkedIn and profile, and then I will get back the collection profile. So I'll show you how it works. So if done the name equals to done the main, so that we can import this without running this, right? So profiles equals to get collection of LinkedIn, comma, profiles, like this. And then I will print the profiles and see what I mean. So if I run this one, you can see that, oh, cool, it created collection, din, and then profiles. So then you might think, okay, this should exist in my mongo-express. So let's do that. Mongo-express, let's go back here. And clicking this a lot of times and nothing happens. That is because it creates it lazily. So it will create it first when you have inserted some data into it. Okay, so what do I mean with this? So profiles, we know it's a collection, right? So I can do profiles dot insert one. What do I want to insert? This should take a dictionary of a key and value. So the profile could be like this: user ID. It could be some weird number here. Let's see, yes. And I run this one. And if I go back here, I update this one, you can see LinkedIn is created. So if I open this one, view here, you can see, yes, there is a record here, or there is a document here. And this has the key, user ID, and this number here. And then it created _ID by default so that we can keep this unique. Okay, but I don't want to have this dummy data here. I want to delete this one. Let me just go back and I will delete the whole database. Delete LinkedIn. Okay, so now it's gone. Testing, I don't need that either. Testing. Now it's gone also. Okay, let's go back to Visual Studio Code. And let's comment this out so I don't accidentally create it again. So now we have our connect MongoDB. So let us copy in some data. Let's see. So I create a new file code called LinkedIn profiles.json like this, and I will paste in the data so you don't need to see me type it out. Or actually, you don't need to see ChatGPT type it out. So the only real one is the first one, which is for myself, and I have chosen to I have experiences. I haven't written so much in there. And then we have another user with user ID, Maria Doe, and then she has several positions. Education. You can see that she has an education, but I have accidentally not written my education there. This is totally fine because we have a flexible schema here and not a strict one as in relational databases. So we just need to know key and values. Moving on, we have Alice Smith, and then experiences, education, blah blah blah. Rash Patel, education, blah, blah, blah. And then another Maria Garcia. And yeah, she has other things. So then we could think, okay, when we insert this data into MongoDB, can we query this? Can we like find out all the Maria profiles? Can we find out all the profiles that is Coction? Etc. So that there's some strategies for querying data as well, but we won't go into all that details, just some really simple ones, because this is the first video on Mongo, right? Okay, so we have a connect MongoDB, so let's continue. We want to insert the profile data, right? So code ingests profile data, or ingest profiles.py. Okay, so I've created a new script here. So in order to ingest this, we need to read this in from the data. So the data is linked in profiles.json. So how do we read in JSON? We need a JSON. We need to have JSON library, and then we need to have pathlib import path. Okay, that is it. Def read JSON file, and with open JSON file, comma, read as file, data equals to JSON dot load file. And then return. We can actually put the return directly here. Return JSON data. So let's try this out. If dunder name equals to dunder main, let's do like this. We need a path as well. So profiles path equals to path dunder file dot parent slash, let's see, this one. Copy this one like this. And then let's read this. So read JSON profiles path, and we can call this profiles data equals to this, and then print profiles data, run this one, and you can see there's a lot of data. Cool. But we want to print it nicer. So from pprint import pprint like this, and then we can have pprint instead, and it looks nicer. Okay, so now we have just loaded the data into Python. That is nothing fancy. We need to load this into MongoDB. That is cooler. So let's do that. So def insert profile records. And okay, so what do I want to have here? I want to know the collection. So which collection I should put in the data, ingest the data. So I pick in collection and I want to have data so that I know what to put in. And in the collection, there is a rate index. And why do I want to do this? I want to have user ID. You can see that there is a user ID here. For each of them, there's a user ID there, there's a user ID there. So I want to be able to not insert data several times with the same user ID, because I don't want to accidentally insert a lot of times because I run something a lot of times. So what I do is I create an index of this one, and I will do unique equals to true. So with this, we cannot add this several times. Let me show you how this works. And then we have collection dot insert many data. So before we do insert one, now we want to insert many. So what do we want to insert? We want to insert the whole profiles data, right? So instead of just p-printing it, which is quite cool, we can do like this. The profile collection, we need to get this one first. And we get this from the connect mongo, right? So from connect mongo, import get collection. And then we do get collection of, let's see, what is the name? The name we want to have is LinkedIn. And we want to have the collection is called profile. Profile collection. So when I run this, let me comment out this one and I print this one, profile collection, just to see that it works. We can see that, yes, we get the collection object or the collection instance. And we have the LinkedIn here and the profile. Okay, it works, but it doesn't exist yet because we haven't inserted data. So let's go into browser to see that updating this one, we don't have it because it's loading lazily, right? So going back here, we have profile collection. Let's now do the insertion. Insert, we do insert profile records. Is this function here, and we put in the collection, so profile collection, comma. What do I want to insert? I want to insert the data, so profiles data, like this. Comment this out. Run. Update this one. It's here. LinkedIn. It's here. Go in there. View. Wow, a lot of data. So cool. Okay, so now I have data. Let's try to add it again to show that my constraint works. I tried to add it again, and you can see Mongo errors, a large exception here. Or, yeah, exactly. And you can see there's a bulk write error, and there is also a duplicate error somewhere. Okay, so how to do this one so that I don't get the error every time? I can just do from pymongo dot error. Actually, you can do, how do I find this first? You can see here pymongo dot errors, right? And then dot errors, import bulk write error. Okay, and then we do like this. We do try acceptor try accept bulk write error as error. Print error. Okay, so I can move on with my life without this nasty error. Run this one, and there's another error here, and this is called, now I cannot see it, but I've seen it before, and it's a duplicate error as well. Duplicate, so let's see here. Duplicate key error, so duplicate key error. Let's see, and we cannot do like that, of course. We need to have a tuple here, like this. Okay, so perfect. You can see that and it has been an exception, but it's still running further. So if I do the p-print here, you can see, yeah, I still get this p-print. Cool. Okay, so I don't need this these two, and I don't need this one, so clean up a little bit. So I run this several times. You can see there's a lot of some errors here. And let's go into here, and we can see we still have 5 documents. Good. And if we want to go zoom into one of them, we can go into here. We can go into this one. Let's see. Rush. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I click that one, and you can see this is the details. Okay. So let's try to query this in Python. So now I will have a Jupyter notebook. Query data.ipnb. Okay. Python environments.env. Okay. So from pymongo import, or actually, yeah, I don't need that one. I need from connect mongodb import get collection, and I want to do profiles equals to get collection database name equals to LinkedIn collection equals to profile. So I'll get this collection, so profiles. And I run this one, and you can see, yes, we get the LinkedIn and the profile. Okay, so let's try to get profiles that start with Maria, for example. So then we do this profiles dot find. We can do find one. We can find based on, if we do find one, and we just get the one, we get the collection, because it's the first one it finds, and it finds this one. And if I do another one, find one, and I will do with a JSON here, or dictionary here, I can filter this with first name. I can filter out Maria. And I run this one, and we can see we get Maria Doe, and we only get one Maria. We don't get the other one. So in order to do that, we can do profiles.find instead. And I want to find first name, Maria. And there's a cursor object here. And this one we need to iterate over. So we can do like this. A list here for profile in this one. Let's see, for profile in this one, and then we need to write out the profile, of course. Profile. Okay, so now we have a list. We get Maria Doe, and then we have another one here, Maria Garcia. Okay, cool. And then we could filter this out. We could, for example, if we want to filter this out, we could call it like this, profiles Maria equals to that one, and then we could do profiles Maria of 0, and then we get the first Maria. We can see which, we can take out the first name of you, and then we get Maria, and we could do copy this one, and we could do like this. Let's see, experience like this, and these are your experiences. And we could filter out this further and get the 0th experience is the closest one, and this one we could pick out the title, for example, and we get this one. And if I copy this one, I could do similar, but I take the first Maria, and we see another Maria data analyst. Okay, cool. So now we have done some simple querying, and you can see it's quite flexible, and it didn't matter that the education was empty for collection here. You can see we had an education that is empty, and we don't have education because I didn't add any. Okay, so now you have seen me working with Python, connecting to MongoDB, and working with MongoDB locally, connecting with the spinning up containers, MongoDB and mongo-express. Then we saw in mongo-express that the data came in. We worked with database, we worked with collections, and inside of collections we had documents, right? And we inserted data from JSON, which we created manually, but it could be like the JSON data comes from an API, for example. So you could ingest data from API and insert it directly into MongoDB if you would want to. So thank you. See you in the next one. Bye.